Have you ever tried to pronounce English words using Hungarian? For instance, happy birthday. That sounds a little bit different when you take it into account that you can only work with Hungarian letters, sounds, consonants and vowels. So that becomes happy birthday. Well, I thought I would share it with you. And that's about it. Now, since we are determined to move on with advanced Hungarian, then there is no point in denying that all we have to do is keep doing what we've been doing so far. So let's do what we've been keep doing. Let's examine what we can do with this sentence. Luckily, in this day and age, Google Translate is quite useful, because you put this here and it comes out as determination. And then you put this in there and then it comes out as key. And what would you do here? I don't think it would come as a surprise if it turns out that English needs a verb here, while Hungarian doesn't. And that's why a lot of my students, at least once, have stated that in this sentence that they've constructed, this is the verb. I know that in countries such as the US, for instance, grammar is rarely taught, because the truth is that English is so widespread you can get by speaking only that one, and chances are your pronunciation is no obscure and specific enough that people wouldn't understand it around the world, people speaking English. But the truth is that grammar is important and it is taught in Hungarian, even though Hungarian is our native language and grammar is not that important, or not supposed to be, seemingly. Yet it is taught. So I can use that, and it's rather helpful when teaching, because once you explain how words are used in a sentence, it becomes a little more obvious to everyone why a sentence in English is constructed in that certain way. It's true to Hungarian as well. Grammar will help you along the way. And of course, as a language teacher who's not a linguist, I can use a simplified grammar. I don't have to think about explaining how modals and determiners work and things like that, but I can concentrate solely on the verb and the subject and the object. And this is the extent of our grammar knowledge, usually. And of course, there's always time, space, and things like that, but we almost always concentrate on the meaning and what's behind it, what moves it. And there is this great difference between Hungarian and English. In Hungarian, anything can be an action. So while I mentioned subject, object, and verb, and in English you've got auxiliary verbs, but they are more or less verbs, special words. In Hungarian, I can put anything as an action. In that case, key is the action. And that's it. A Hungarian would be perfectly satisfied with that sentence. And that could be a problem when learning English. But this also could be a problem when learning Hungarian, because then you have to give up your habit of expecting a verb at any point. But you also have to pick up another habit of creating words using conjugation. But before we get to the conjugation part, let's finish this sentence in English, because we all know, are painfully aware what goes in there. And that is the key. Of course, if you want to translate this back to Hungarian, you've got this one, because in Hungarian you can't just say it's some like this. In general, even if you talk about general things, you do need the, because you're talking about this specific thing. At least that's what Hungarians do. And of course, the key is much more apparent. Right. But what's the problem? This was the easiest translation in history. Yeah, but what would you have done without knowing this one and putting into Google Translate and then just expecting this as a result. I mean, I guess you can put it into Stocky and you would get a result, although perhaps a little bit different. But yeah, well, that's the reason why we are here. Because what you're supposed to do, at least when nothing seems to be working, is to find the root of it. Now, the shortest word that makes sense on its own is definitely not this one or that one, but this one. Unfortunately, if you put that into the dictionary, it comes back as squash or pumpkin, and that's not very good. It means that this one is either something that makes a crazy word out of a crazy word without having any connection, but that's not the way things work. You're supposed to have a connection, you're supposed to preserve the meaning. So how about this one? Or even this one. And, well, perhaps that doesn't work, but as a tip or a best practice, you can usually include the prefix with verbs, because that slightly changes the meaning. So let's see. Well, it comes back as ältökélt, although it is a verb, ältökél. It means to determine something, to become determined in some sort of goal, having some sort of goal in mind. So ältökélt would be either the past tense or, much like in English, the adjective version of it. And then ság, ség would give us something like that. Although in this case we can't use it. But that's because there is very little correlation between ség and ness in English. It could happen, but it's not always the case. However, ság or ség, with an a or an a, creates a noun out of an adjective, and that's the key here. So if you're determinate or you're resolute or determined, then it can become determination or well, I guess resolution is a bit different. Well, I do hope that makes sense, because the whole goal of today is not the translation itself, but how to deal with roots of words. Because in the upcoming episodes, or the upcoming 20 to 30 years of this, we are going to talk about how to find a root and how to create more and more words. It is said that Hungarian has 50,000, 100,000, 200,000 words. It depends on how you count them. I mean, you would think that if I know 100,000 words, I must be some sort of academic genius, and even the stupidest Hungarian person would be the equivalent of Stephen Hawking or something, but that's not the case. The truth lies in this: creating words by adding conjugation. And once you master navigating this unforgiving river of rules and patterns around this, you have mastered Hungarian. Well, at least that part. Anyways, thanks for watching, and see you later. Now, let me treat my sunburned face. I had a lovely weekend, but the sun was also unforgiving, just like grammar in Hungarian. Anyways, bye-bye. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to say that tomorrow I won't be able to make an episode, so Wednesday you have to wait until Wednesday. Yeah, because I'm going away again. Because why not?